So now we're going to talk about an organization that you may or may not heard of. They're getting ready to celebrate their 80-year anniversary. They are located right here in Reno. It's the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. We're going to hear from the CEO, Joey Orduna Hastings, as well as one of their members, which will be Judge Walker. And even though they've been around for 80 years, most people don't have any idea the impact that they're having right here in our community as well as across the nation. So please take a look at this. So Joey, a lot of people really don't know much about the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges, and I would really love it if you could just explain to our viewers, you know, the big high view of what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer, for having me here today.
Anytime.
The National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges is the oldest judicial membership organization in the country. We have the opportunity to celebrate our 80th anniversary next May 2017, and we're about to kick off that celebration here this month in October. The National Council has been in Reno for almost 47 years, contributing to the economy, bringing judges in, and other different stakeholders, from attorneys, probation officers, social workers, and training them and providing research to them on topics, everything from child abuse and neglect to domestic violence to human trafficking, all matters that relate to a juvenile and family court.
So explain to us, though, how does this council impact our community? Like, give us in layman's terms.
We ensure healthy courts allow for healthy communities. So we are very proud to serve the judicial branch of government in providing cutting-edge education and training and research so that judges in the courtrooms that have to make the difficult decisions about families every day have the most information possible to make the best decisions possible. We're very lucky here in Reno to have one of our board members, Judge Egan Walker, at the 2nd Judicial District Court serve on our board, and an active member of our organization. The 2nd Judicial District Family Court was a model court for many years, became a senior model court, and now a Project One site, which is an initiative of the council to allow one family, one judge concept to apply for both juvenile delinquent cases and child abuse and neglect. So one judge hears those cases.
Project One is a court improvement project developed by the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges to take an innovative look at some of the highest risk, highest needs kids and families in our communities. So the one in Project One stands for one family, one judge, no wrong door, equal access to justice. And it's really a holistic way of looking at the needs of children and families from a much different lens and a much different perspective. One of my favorite stories about Project One is that if we asked a parent to file a custody or visitation case in this court, they'd have to make multiple trips across Sierra Street playing a game of Frogger as they go back and forth across the street to file those documents. Project One, at its heart, is really about solving problems like that.
So give me some examples. You know, obviously I'm a parent. What types of ways would this affect me in my home? My child gets in a fight at school, for example, and has to enter into the juvenile system, or I have a foster child that I want to adopt. These are the types of things that you guys are coming up with best practices on. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So we ground our practices in the courtrooms in research and evidence-based best practices. One of our major documents is called the Resource Guidelines. And the Resource Guidelines provide judges step-by-step benchmarks in which they need to meet in child welfare cases so that they're timely, they're making sure all the parties are in the court and staffing the cases adequately, that expectations are met, findings are specific in court orders so that when a family leaves that case or has to go to another resource in the community, they have a detailed order that can allow that resource to know what the family needs so that they can access the right resources.
Well, the National Council is a premier educational organization for judges across the country. You can't just wind a judge up, turn them loose on a family court docket, which is a very specialized docket, and say, have at it, judge. That's a recipe for disaster. The judges really need very focused, very specialized, very evidence-based training so that they can deal with things like 960 kids in foster care in Washoe County right now as we speak. How do you manage their needs? How do you prevent the penetration of more children into foster care? How do you get those kids out of foster care as quickly as possible? You don't do that without very intensive, very focused, very evidence-based training. And that's what NCJFCJ gives.
So you're very proactive in trying to get the business community engaged. Tell me why.
Well, one of the challenges we have as an organization that serves the courts is not many people find themselves in a family court, and that's a good, fortunate situation. However, the business community should invest in the courts because your employees are many times challenged with the navigation of the court process. If they even find themselves in a divorce case, they have to be at hearings. You know, you can't miss the hearings. You have to hire a lawyer. You have to expend funds. It can be a very expensive process. And we want the business community to understand that when they invest in courts, they invest in healthy communities so that they ensure that they have the most trained judges and other officials, attorneys, social workers, so on and so forth, that can run these cases efficiently, get the families or the litigants in and out, get them their needs met, and access resources in the communities to continue to take care of the family as a whole entity.
And keep the stress down so they can return to work sooner.
Absolutely, and it does have ultimate, and we hope to study that. You know, what is the impact on
the stress
of the business, the productivity?
So NCJJ is a research body that is a part of the National Council. And the NCJJ is the repository in the nation for dependency data in the United States. The NCJJ is populated by scientists, social scientists, as is the National Council, and their role is to gather data about what works best. So does it make sense for Judge Walker, when he's seeing a child who's coming into the foster care system, to develop this permanency plan, adoption, that permanency plan, guardianship, or this permanency plan, another plan, permanent living arrangement, and what are the outcomes for children associated with each of those plans? The only way you get it is with data. My favorite story about juvenile justice in the United States is it began in the late 1890s in really two sites, Chicago and New York. And it was some judges and social workers and other professionals who had what they thought were good ideas about juvenile justice. They said, we'll get all the kids in the same place at the same time. We'll have all the services focused on them in one giant facility. That's known as congregate care. Well, that turned out to be an abject failure. It actually made kids more dangerous. It made communities less safe. And the way we get from there to here is through research. So in Project One, for example, we have a whole gamut of outcome matrices to measure. Does it make sense for families to see one judge across case types? And how do we measure that? Do we know the kids come home quicker? The kids don't penetrate into juvenile delinquency or adult criminality? The parents divorce less, have less indicators of domestic violence? Those things. It's data. And the council is very, very good at collecting data and then applying data to practices in ways that you can measure.
So tell me quickly, how can businesses get involved?
Well, we would encourage everyone to visit the National Council's website at www.ncjfcj.org. And that's again ncjfcj.org. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, but we are a nonprofit organization, so we welcome donations. We hope to increase our donations and our development over the next several years so that we can start telling the story to better support our courts locally and across the country, and continue to be proactive in supporting legislative efforts on a national level, federal level, to help support families and children and victims of domestic violence.
And if nothing else, just go to the website and learn more about it, because it is a big part of our community. I mean,
Absolutely.
Our children, our juveniles, our young children, our parents, divorces, it definitely impacts all of us. There's no question about that. You are doing amazing work. Congratulations on your big anniversary, 80 years, incredible, right here in Reno, Nevada.
Yeah,
you guys are headquartered. I love it. Thank you so much for
coming
and sharing with us. Go to the website and learn more about this amazing organization. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jennifer.